God for another opportunity. We have been on the go. It's good to be home. It's so good to be home. Thank you for being patient and those of you that travel with us. Thank you for those of you that prayed for us, wasn't able to travel with us. Amen. I'm still glad to be home, though. Amen. Amen. All right, we're not going to prolong it. We are in Psalms, the 51st number of Psalms. Psalm written by David after what we call a big sin. Amen. Amen. I think it's fine. Sure. Yeah, y'all can hear me pretty good. It's good. And we are on the 51st number of Psalms, and we're talking about David here and what he has done, but we also want to focus in on restoration. Restoration. About this time of the year, many churches began their revivals. And it's that way because supposedly we've come down to the end of the year and we need to be revived. Man, I want you to understand even revival and restoration, they go hand in hand. We need to be restored and we need to be revived. We're always up for restoration. To restore means to put us back, to stock us back up, right? The only things that does not need restoration are things that are not used. Amen. Some cars are so good to us, or we like so well. Some of you may be like me. I'm stuck in the past. I like old stuff. Yeah, old cars are better than new cars to me. Yeah, an old car is I just have to check the gas if it's not getting gas flow, and fire spark plugs. And if I get a spark and I can get gas flowing and the oil is in there, it's gonna crank. It's going. The rest is easy. But new cars have a sensor for the gas that I put in there, and then a sensor to tell the sensor when to spray the gas, and then a sensor to tell how much to spray in there. See how many sensors I've dealt with already? So if I crank it, I don't know where to start. Because the new cars are so complicated that they may be just out of gas, and it's the last thing I look for. But old cars have to be restored. Right. Antiques have to be restored. The prophet said it this way. They were wondering what was wrong with the world. And he said that the world needs to be restored. But he said it this way. He says, find ye the old parts. And when you find them, walk in them. A whole lot of old paths have been found in this world. Very few people are walking in them. The one thing that I used to hear is actually a good thing. When people say we're old-fashioned, that's a good thing. Because I don't like this new fashion. I like old-fashioned. I like old-fashioned where if your pants was too short, it was on the bottom end and not the top end. That would because if your pants was too short, it's because you outgrew them and couldn't afford to buy more. Now they buy them too big and know they're never going to grow in them, so they buy them to sag off them. I like the old days when underwear was only seen when you get in the bathtub or whoever wash them. I don't like new fashion because new fashion gets away from the word of God. Yeah. So David here is talking about restoration, and sometimes it's not because of some big sin that we've committed that we need to be restored. Sometimes we have allowed the distractions of worldly things to interfere with our relationship and communication with God. Sometimes we need to be restored because we've gotten so far away from God gradually. I wish I had something. Come on. You just didn't stop praying overnight. Something got on your mind and you forgot to pray one night, and then the next night you prayed a little bit, and then the next night you didn't pray, and then next thing you don't know the last time you prayed. All Satan wants you to do is just, he says, if I can get you to miss one Sunday, if I can get you to miss one Sunday, you don't understand what he's saying. See, he's saying if I can get you to miss one Sunday, that's at least 13 days that you ain't been to church. I got to help me. See, it didn't seem like that until I said it. You said one Sunday, you said that's just 7 days. No, it says if I can get you to miss Sunday and get you all the way to next Saturday, that's 13 days you ain't been to church if you don't go to Bible study. So the next Sunday, after you miss 13 days, it's going to be easier for him to get you to miss than it was the first one. You know, we're creatures of habit. You know that there's some things in our life we said we'd never do, and we did them, and then after we did them, it became easier to do it again. Gosh, the first lie kept you up all night. The next 100, you didn't even think about it. You got used to it. But we all need restoration. 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 He had to restore his prophets. Oftentimes they would go and be in caves and be by themselves. Jesus went all by himself to be restored. People talk about Paul and people talk about these things, but they don't understand is that when Saul first came, they said he was preaching well, and then they lost him for a little while. He went to the desert, and they said when he got back from the desert, he was showing up on fire. Because every now and then we have to be restored. No matter, you can keep gas in the car, you can keep oil in the car, but every now and then the car needs a tune-up. It needs to be restored. Why, Brother Mitchell? Because it does not have the power that it had when you drove it off the lot. You done kept the oil change, you done kept gas in it, you done done all you're supposed to, but it's saying, I need to be restored if you want me to have the power I used to have. And let me tell you something, only God is limitless in his power. He don't get tired. He don't wear down. He don't sleep or slumber, but we do. We do. And if you're not careful, if you don't pull into the spiritual filling station to get filled, you will run dry and run out of gas in a desert place. Yeah. You need to be restored. David here needed to be restored. David had committed a sin. He had gotten away from God. But David's sin happened because David wasn't in the place that he should have been before the sin. Oftentimes, it's the sin, but it's where we are before the sin. Because if we are in a good place with God before, then the sin probably won't happen. Do you realize Satan knows when to tempt you and when not to tempt you? Yeah, there's some temptation Satan got waiting for us that he wouldn't dare give it to us right now. Because we're waiting on it. But I'm going to save this one for when they're tired, when things ain't going their way, when they're weak. You know, you say it like this, when it rains, it pours. Let me tell you something. Whether it's pouring raining or just raining, what does it matter? It's rain. But we're saying my umbrella barely is strong enough to handle the rain. When you pour it on my umbrella, it's, but God, if God is your umbrella, God got umbrellas and buckets, and whatever you need, He got it. So David is talking about a cleansing, a restoration, and each verse is about. He's talking about have mercy on me. Mercy is a funny thing because mercy is the one thing that we want, but we don't want to give. Y'all might well come on tonight. I ain't going to be long, but mercy is the one thing that we all want, but we don't want to give. Because in mercy is patient. We want everybody to be patient with us, but we don't want to be patient with nobody else. We want everybody to forgive us, but how forgiving are we? The old saying is, mercy, it didn't end with me. It began with me. We act like mercy ended with us. We act like God used his last bit of mercy upon us. And we ain't got none for nobody else. Many of our churches, many of our people, many of our relationships are struggling, are straining, are fading away because we won't forgive. We will not forgive. Families against families because they won't forgive. But the audacity, David says, have mercy on me, Lord. He says, because you've had mercy on me many, many, many times before, and I really need your mercy right now. I'll tell you something, pastoring, studying is dangerous. It's good, but it's dangerous. It's necessity, but it's dangerous. Why? Because the more I know, the more is required of me. He who knows my word and does it not will be whooped with many stripes. The more I learn, the deeper I get, the more short I see I'm coming to the measuring stick. Gosh. Solomon said it this way. He says, the more I learn, the sadder I am because I see that it's vanity and it's all vanity. Gosh. We want new levels. With new levels come new devils. I wish y'all help me tonight. Of whom much is given, much is received. Everybody who wants to be blessed tonight. Anybody want to be blessed tonight? I want to be blessed. Do you know burdens come with blessings? Gosh, the more you're blessed with, the more burdens you have to try to keep what you got. Y'all gonna talk to me tonight. He blessed you with great health and great legs, and he said, next thing you know, he said, you know, I bless you, Hershey, don't you? Well, I'm be standing up all day, and then I got to smile. Amen. I heard the sister say that she got a great report today. And when they told her about singing, the first thing hit my mind is, now you can really sing that God is keeping you. Yeah, you used to say, you want me to know that God is keeping you. You showed up can tell me now that God is keeping you. He kept you, never left you. Yeah. And if you are going to continue to be kept, it's only because he's going to do it. Yeah. So David talks about mercy. He asked God to have mercy on him. And he talked about washing him. And he says, I acknowledge my transgressions. He says that I want forgiveness. And a lot of us won't get forgiveness because we won't acknowledge our wrongs. We'd rather make everybody else think or act like everybody else is wrong and we're right. And let me tell you something. A Christian that can't say I'm sorry is not much of a Christian. A Christian that can't apologize for their wrong is not much of a Christian, because the first thing about Christianity is you must deny yourself. And if you can't say I'm sorry, I apologize, I was wrong, that means you can't deny yourself. So I'm not saying it, but the Bible says you ain't much Christian. Yeah. Only God is always right. Satan tries to stop us from being who we are to be. Many of us want to do and not be. But if you're doing who you're not, you just fake. If you be, you will do. Y'all don't get that, do you? God says for us to be saved. How? He says be holy. Because if you be holy, you'll act holy. Your ways, your mouth will be holy. But being a Christian is not an acting job. This is not some kind of play that we're in. This is real life. Heaven and hell is real. And this ain't rehearsal for it. Are y'all all right? This is the real deal. This is a reality show right here. This ain't rehearsal. This ain't cut, act two, stop, let's redo that. No. The Bible puts it this way. The Bible says that we must give account for every deed done in this body. Good or bad, we got to give an account. Every one of them. So David asks, he says, I acknowledge my sins, and they are forever before me. David says, I can't forget how short I come. Sometimes God does not want us to hold sin over our head. He says, if I forgive you, you're forgiven. He says, I don't want you to hold it against yourself anymore, but I also don't want you to forget it because I want you to keep doing it over and over again. Now, he told Israel, he says, these things are written. Why? So that you can put them to remembrance. He says, I'm going to take it off the stony tablets and put it in your heart. Why? So you can remember them. We have the Holy Spirit. What did Jesus say we do? He will call to remembrance. That's why we can't say, well, I ain't know. The Holy Spirit said, you and I, we didn't know. Don't, you know what the Holy Spirit said there? Holy Spirit said, look, don't be getting me in trouble. You did know because I reminded you. You knew. You told me to shut up. You're just going to do what you want to do. Remember? David, king, leader, David. You know, in the Bible, David probably is the one character that we know the most about. From childhood up, we get to look at David's life. Nobody else. But Saul comes on the scene, he's grown. Jesus, we get when he's a baby, and then we lose him for 18 years, and then he's back grown. But David, we know his mama, his daddy, his other folk. God, he come from some families like ours, some broken families. Jesse was his dad, and Obed was his granddaddy. And they had Boaz and Ruth. Y'all gonna help me? And they come from Salmon and a harlot named y'all. But God chose him. And David, God says David is one after my own heart. But David is always into something. David's a warrior. David will fight. But I love David. Oh my goodness, I love David. Because David helps me understand that I can have a soft side and still be all man. You're not soft like y'all think. Nah. But David liked music. And he writes songs and poetry, and Pastor likes poetry, stuff like that. And David could write a poetry and a song that would just make your heart bleed and you cry and drop his pen and pick up his sword and kill someone and go back to writing. David had this switch. I wish I could talk to y'all. David had a switch, that warrior switch that David wasn't afraid of. No. I want you to watch what David did. Gosh. David understood that he could not do anything to Saul. He knew that. He knew better. But he also wanted to remind Saul that if I wanted to, help me out there. God, it's some people that God tells us, no, leave alone, I got it. But we still want to let them know, if God turned me loose, I could do something to him. Oh, y'all gonna wake up there. Yeah, David, several times, David, he just snagged his little coat one time. And he came out waving. Said, look what see what I could have done to you, king? See, if it wasn't for God, there's some folk that if it wasn't for God, Pastor could teach them a lesson. Pastor could show them David was real. Come on now. It's some folk you put up with just because they saved too. Y'all some good folk. But y'all acting a little funny and flaky here now. There's some folk that the only reason you put up with them is because they ain't quiet too, or they don't hurt you going to, or I ain't choosing Pastor to put them over here, so they must be meant to be gosh. Because they work your nerve. Yeah. David says the only reason I didn't kill you, Saul, is because he says, touch not. But y'all ain't looking at that. while we're on mercy and restoration, you're not looking at that. Even though Saul was in the wrong, he was still the anointed. Yeah. Even though God rejected Saul, he still was anointed. Because God, he looks at motives and heart. You look at what is done. Yeah. We're living in a dangerous time and era. We're living in a time where our president is locking up kids of different nationalities and putting them in cages. And you know what's happening? He's just making good people into the next terrorist. I mean, come on. If you was a kid in a cage and the president put you in a cage, you was in love with America at first, and then they come and put you in a cage and keep you in a cage all your life. When they turn you loose, you don't want to do something to America. Yeah. 106 some street, I want to think. We got to be careful. But David was just as human as we are. But he was after God's own heart. He made mistakes. But God says he's right. Listen, God didn't say that about David because he didn't know what David was going to do. He knew David. He knew David. So David here in verse 4, after asking to be washed thoroughly, cleansed, and acknowledging his sin. You see, David hadn't acknowledged that sin yet. No, because it took Nathan to tell him that. A lot of times we don't like to talk to people who ain't for us because we're afraid they're going to tell us about us. Isn't it amazing? We love to talk to people who talk good about us. If you ever want to entertain someone or impress someone, all you got to do is talk about them. Talk about how beautiful they are, how tall they are, how good they are, or how well they speak. And I guarantee you will get their attention. They will sit there and they'll be like, but if you begin to tell people where they come short, they will stop smiling, stop looking at themselves, and start looking at you and say, well, now you can't talk because you. God. So if you're going to take a notebook to tell people their shorts, bring two. One for them to write theirs on and one for you to write yours on what they will tell. God. Grandma would say it like this: a dog that bring a bone to carry a bone. If you bring you one, he'll take one back. All right. He says in verse 4, 50 verse number some, he says, against thee and thee only have I sinned. Now, that sounds kind of strange. Y'all gonna talk to me? It sounds strange because David sinned with Bathsheba and he sinned against Uriah. Are y'all with me? Yeah. His sin was with Bathsheba. Now, I want to ask you a question. David sinned with Bathsheba, but was the sin accounted to Bathsheba? David, the man in charge. All Bathsheba did was submit to the king. To the king. If she hadn't, king could have killed. But she submitted. All Uriah did was submitted to the rules that the king had made. His rules, God's law, is what David broke. So David says, I have sinned against thee and thee only, because you make the rules. God, how many times have we broken the rules because we didn't understand them or because we didn't think they applied to us? Well, you know, that's the rule, but obviously they didn't have the circumstance that I had them, because if they had the circumstance I had, then they wouldn't go by this rule. Talk to me now. Oh, wait a minute. We like to bend the rules to fit our situation. Come on, talk to me. Yeah. We like to interpret them the way we think they should be interpreted. Our interpretation is always to our best interest. Have you ever understood? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So David says that against thee and thee only have I sinned. He said, Lord, I'm admitting to you that I messed up against you and you only. You and you only. But David kind of understood something too. Anytime we sin, it's always going to have an effect on somebody else. You can't commit a sin that only hurts you. I done found things creepy. No matter what you do, if you sin, it's going to affect someone else. It amazes me, and it makes me cry sometimes, and it makes me happy sometimes. The people that come up to me, young people that I'm much older than, and they'll say, "Hey, Flip, hey, Coach, hey, whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, how you know me? I don't even know you're young." "Oh man, I was in the streets when you did such and such and such and such and such," because you never know who's looking. And I'm thinking nobody saw that but me and my partners, and nobody. But there's somebody always watching. And what age does kids get to when they start watching and knowing what you're doing? Isn't it amazing how a 2 or 3-year-old can just gaze at you sometimes? You just catch them just looking at you. See? Or you think that they're not paying attention. And I can remember my boys, and I think they're not paying attention when I'm clipping my hair, cutting my beard when they were younger. And then I go downstairs and come back up, and they're adjusting ears with my clippers, pretending to do it. I said, whoa, he was paying attention. You never know who's watching. And sin affects other people, even people that you don't know and don't know you. Y'all don't believe that, do you? If, and it's not true, but if pastor was messing up and going to one of the members' houses late night, and the next door neighbor wouldn't say, but they know pastor, that's Main Street pastor. He ain't got no business over there that time. And why is he always going over there at this such and such time and staying this long? And there's car cranking up here. Eventually, there's no car. Hear it, just hear it. And then I'm saying, but this ain't affecting nobody. But it is. Because they don't know God. And they're saying he's supposed, come on, talk to me. That's what they don't say. He's supposed to be a preacher. And when somebody come and talk to them about God, they don't even have to bring up my name, but because what they see me do, they're going to think that they don't want nothing to do with God because on your job, the things you do, somebody's watching you. I thought she was saying she gossiped just as much as he got that many women in front. She better eyes in front just like the unsaved folk. Her skirt shorter than the saved. Are y'all gonna help me? Somebody's watching. And then if we're saved, when we sin, God forbid, who are we leading astray? Who are we saying it's okay to do this to? David, he says, I have sinned against thee have I sinned, and thee only. He says, and done this evil thing in thy sight. Lord, I know you see everything. How do I know? You told me where the Ark of the Covenant was. You told me where the Philistines was. You told me this. You told me that. He says, I know I've done this thing in your sight. You saw us. The lights was out. Everybody else was at war. Everybody else was asleep, but you was looking dead. And he says that thou mightest be justified when thou speakest and be clear when thou judgest. He says, Lord, whatever you do to me, you justifiably can do. Because I have sinned. I broke the rule. You know what's wrong with the world? Gosh, the world continually break rules and don't expect to be punished. You know what's wrong with our children? They've gotten away with doing wrong and not being punished. You know what's wrong with the average individual today? They have not been held accountable for what they've done. There's a fix to every one of their mistakes and sin, and then just go on about it. Y'all ain't gonna talk to them. Huh? They commit a crime, they got enough money, get the right lawyer, pay the judge, crime gone away. Y'all ain't gonna talk about it. They mess up. They mess around. It's okay, we just go to the clinic and fix. Talk to me. How will we be held accountable? We break friendship, mess up a relationship, we just move on to the next one and mess up. Move on to the next one and mess up. We act a fool in one church. We don't have to make amends. We just go next door. It's a twofold problem. The biggest problem is the person never holds themselves accountable. And the next one is where they're going to, they don't hold them accountable. You know, it used to be you have to have a letter to join a sister church. You could just come up on Christian Experience. No, sir, you belong to that church over there. When they give me a letter telling me that you straight, you come here. Until then, you can't come here. You can visit, but you can't join. And you can't visit too many Sundays in a row. You need to be back over there. Because you don't run off and leave something broke. And you are not held accountable. When we don't hold ourselves accountable, we begin to lose our grip in our relationship with Christ. Because sin separates us from Christ. He is the mediator, and the one thing he says I can't mediate between is unconfessed sin. He says, if you don't confess it, if you don't admit, accept that you were wrong and ask for forgiveness and really want forgiveness, I can't talk to Dad on your behalf. My blood is not affected. So, my brothers and sisters, unconfessed sin is what we wrestle with. It's called blasphemy. It's the only sin that's unforgivable. Why? Because you didn't ask for forgiveness. Yeah. So David, he says that you're going to be justified when you judge me. I want you to have mercy on me, but whatever you do for me. See, really, we say it a lot. But in reality, God could have called all of us home with a tragic death and been justified. One sin. Listen. The Bible did not say the wages of sins is death. It says the wage of sin. One sin equals death. One sin equals death. One. So David is saying, Lord, you are justified, but I need you to have mercy on me. And the court for the plead his case, he's going to plead his case without pointing fingers. Watch that. David is not like Adam. He pointing fingers at everybody else. David's pointing fingers at himself. He's saying, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Dude, can you imagine? Yeah. God, Holy Spirit work every day, right? Let's grab the Holy Spirit and let's go eavesdrop back in that palace. Can you hear them whispering? I can't believe the king. David messed up. I bet she pregnant. We've known in a few months. Talk to me. Come on, pretend like you in that palace. I wonder what Abigail gonna say about this new woman he went and got. Child, you know that woman was married. Well, her husband, he had him killed. What's wrong with the king? Has he lost his mind? Come on now. I tell you what, y'all act like y'all don't want to talk. Act like his pastor. Ooh, no, y'all got a lot to talk. Go ahead. Gosh. They were talking, and David, I know David was noticing their talk when he was walking by. Because when you sin, and even if everybody don't know, you feel like they know, I'm talking to some real folk. You be tiptoeing, and you be thinking, why they look at me like that? But that's how they always look at me. But I know I done messed up, and I'm saying, oh, they look at me like I know something. That's how David was. Gosh. And Lord, don't let them be having a conversation, and when the king walk up, they stop. David said, oh, God. Don't mess around and come out here on Sunday and say, y'all all right? And they look back at you and say, oh, you all right. They know. I know they knew because I used to live in the palace. The baby's sick. Right. Oh, wait, I gotta tell you something. Because many of you thought like I thought until I read it. You thought that the baby was born dead. The baby was running around. It was a toddler at the time. The child, it says that the child became sick. And David was begging. He wouldn't eat. He was just, he was poorly. And he was looking bad. And they was whispering, the child died. David understood as long as the child was living, I got a chance to beg Daddy God, beg Daddy God, beg Daddy God. Y'all didn't get that because y'all will be shouting in here as long as you're living. Gosh, as long, I think my relationship dead now. As long as y'all got a little spark. I need to talk to some Boy Scouts. Gosh, how many times did they think the fire was going out when all the fire needed was a little? The very thing that would blow the fire out can also blow the fire back on. Gosh. And when they were whispering, the child died. Shh. Don't tell David. Because if the king was acting like this when the boy was just sick, imagine he may go crazy. He probably kill himself when he found out. Baby died this morning. The baby died this morning. The child died this morning. The child died this morning. But that made David know. David says, wait a minute. Everybody's help me, Holy Ghost. Lord. Everybody get quiet at the funeral. Even the hell raisers until after the funeral. Hell raisers raise hell while the person's sick, but when they die, they get quiet, and after they live, they go back to raising hell. That's what made David know the baby died, because he says, nobody's talking. There was another cue, y'all didn't get it. You know your situation's dead when nobody's talking about it no more. As long as people are talking about it, you're still a hot topic. All right? When folks talk about you, look, guess what you ought to say? At least I'm glad they're thinking about me. Somebody thinking about me. It's when they ain't talking about you, you ain't hear no nothing. I'm all right too. They through with you, child. And I know he was listening because then David says, the child, he asked the question, he said, everybody quiet around here. Have my child died? Yeah, he died. David says, okay, good, let me wash up. Y'all ready for something? I was like, what? David said, they said, why wouldn't we thought you would just, he says, he's gone. I begged for him when he had life. Now that he's gone, listen, I won't see him over here no more. But there's another side. I'll see him over there. But David says, I said against thee the only. He says, you'll be justified in whatever you do to me. But now watch this. And then verse 5, he says, behold, I was shapen in iniquity. Listen to how he's pleading. He's not talking about what the church did and who did this. And when I was young, and people laughed at me, and they bullied me, and they picked on me, and my mother left, and my daddy wasn't there for me, and blah, blah, blah. This is the way I'm like this because I ain't never had no daddy to tell me not to do this and not do it. My mama wasn't a good mama. She didn't do this, and she didn't do it. He says, I don't know, hush your grown man, and you grown man, and make your own decisions. Yeah? He says, I'm just going to talk about me. I messed up. I ain't going to blame Bathsheba. See, y'all keep saying a woman should have been in the window taking a bath. That was her bathtub, her window, and many of us got windows by the bathtub. We just got them up high or got them some kind of decoration so can't nobody see you. But we like windows by our bathtub too. Gosh, that's her house. But David didn't blame her like y'all did. What was she doing, baby? Didn't do it anyway. She was where she's supposed to be, at home. David was where he wasn't supposed to be. He's supposed to be at war. Not only is he not at war, he up on top of the palace. On the roof. But he went up there. He wasn't checking for rats. Might have been checking for cats, but not rats. But he says, it's me. I was shapen in sin, in iniquity. My makeup is wrong. Wait. But he's not using this as an excuse. He's telling the truth. And my brothers and sisters, until we realize that everything about this flesh is not good. Talk to me. Why do we spend so much time trying to make something look good that ain't good? Why would we spend all our money, all our time? God bless you. I love my baby mother, Councilman. But folks spend hours at the beauty shop getting the hair beauty, but the head and the thinking is so ugly that the beautiful hair can't cover up the ugly brain on the inside. We spend so much time trying to get made up on the outside and no time on the inside because it takes reading the book on the inside. Cleaning up the inside hurts more, takes more time than cleaning up the outside. You can make the outside look and smell good and still the inside ain't no good. God. He says, I was shaped in iniquity. It wasn't he says, listen, that when they made me, gosh, y'all didn't get it. He says, wait a minute, Jesse is my daddy. Huh? You didn't even mention my mama. He says, but you went back and talked about Obed, Jesse's daddy. Then you talk about Boaz and Ruth. You know how they got together? Young woman, old man, come on, talk to me. Y'all been to Sunday school. That's it. Old man, you could have picked one of these young boys, but you picked me. You got money. Y'all all right. God, you're my redeemer. You can redeem me. You can buy me out. David says, look at it. I was shapen in iniquity. When Adam messed up, from sin. Come sin. How did we get here today? Sin. Sin comes. I always say, oh, back in the old days, this and this and this and this. And I'm quick to be reminded, they was doing it back then too. And it hit me today. You're right. They were doing the same thing back then as we're doing now because there's nothing new under the sun. But the only difference is they wouldn't fund it. They weren't going around saying legalize it. They weren't going around saying, oh yeah, this is just me, this is how it is, blah, blah. They might have been doing the same thing, but they was at least shamed enough to try to hide it. Like, y'all gonna help me tonight. They were shamed enough to keep it in the closet. Now, y'all all right. Yeah, y'all ain't got the same daddy, but they were shamed enough to keep it from you until you signed your birth certificate. Y'all all right. They wasn't proud of it. They would run around saying, I got 7 kids, each one of them got a new, I got 7 baby daddy. Talk to me if you can. I'm getting a check for every one of them. Yeah, but they need to check you from getting the checks and check your mind. Y'all all right? Because one attitude and personality is hard to deal with. You got 7 different ones you got to deal with. And I don't care. You can have 7 kids with good personalities, and them 7 kids with good personalities got a bad trait in them too. So you got 7 traits to deal with. That's why mama can love some of them more than daddy, and daddy love this one better because this one, mama don't like that one because that was just like mama. Daddy don't like that one because daddy didn't like that one. But daddy like that one, and mama, we love them all. But we remind them quick, you like your mama. You got that from your mama. Yeah. My poor grandbaby. My poor grandbaby. Look back, folks. See, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's my boys. It looks like me until you sit around them home. And I'd be like, Lord, I took care of them. You can't let them just look. Say about feet blowing up. Yes, I ain't through for you. But he says, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Wait. Perhaps. See, y'all mind like you know how y'all nosy towards other people's business. I'm nosy towards the Bible. Like my inquiring mind might be like, to be shaken iniquity, and then my spiritual mind says, go back to when they send me to David's house to get a king. I mean to Jesse's house to get a king, and he called all his boys up, but and all the other ones was big and strong and in the army, but David was puny and he kept the sheep. Jesse, probably, maybe they had the same mama. We don't know about mama. Y'all read about mama? And Jesse, why would Jesse leave out? Come on, let me talk to the men, because y'all listen, we proud of boys. And we talk about one of them can be next president, or they come to us and say, hey, your son gonna be president. We gonna get all our boys, including the ones we got by the neighbors, don't nobody know about them. Come on, Dad. Come on. So maybe Jesse was like, do we know? Because I don't want to be noticed. He called everybody, but hey, and when he said, no, man, you can't hide from God. You gotta have another son. Well, yeah, I do. I got one that's tending the sheep. He said, come on. And David came over here, hadn't got there yet, and the oil started flowing. He said, there you come. There you come. So maybe David says, I was shaping iniquity, and in sin did my mother, not my daddy, but maybe they wouldn't, like Pastor Q O'Brien married. Maybe they were bastard children. Maybe they were married. See, I got to look to that. Hey, I mean, we bastard kids can't help that they bastard kids. We didn't choose to be bastard kids. That's exactly right. Yes, sir. Because after all, they looked at Jesus and called him a bastard child because they couldn't understand who his daddy was. His daddy, well, you know, his dad, the best daddy, his daddy didn't miss one ball game. His daddy could actually be truthful when he said, boy, I've been with you every second of your life. Yes, I saw a hand up back there. Went back down. All right, so we don't know. But he says, in sin did my mother conceive me. Now watch this. Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts. This is what separates David from a lot of people. He says, Lord, I know what you want. You want the truth from me. You don't only want me to know the truth. You want me to live the truth, accept the truth. Can I talk to some real people tonight? The truth hurts sometimes. The truth hurts because the truth is, I didn't grow up like I wanted to grow up. The truth is, but I have no excuse. The truth is, I've done some things that I'm not proud of. The truth is, I could have been farther down the road if I had made some choices. But the truth to that also is, I could have been dead and gone had it not been for his grace and mercy. The truth is, every Sunday that I'm making here to preach, I didn't deserve it, and that's why I'm so happy. The truth is, I'll cry before I preach sometimes. Sometimes I'll smile. It just depends on which truth I'm thinking about at the time. It might be the truth that I don't deserve to be here. I'm worse than everybody here. Why would you put me up in front of these people? I'm crying my eyes out. It might be the truth that he looked beyond my faults and saw my needs and know I'm not better than anybody here, but I'm just as good as everybody here. The truth. But listen, the truth is the only thing that'll set us free. As long as we're lying to ourselves, we will be in bondage. The truth is the only thing that the gospel of Jesus Christ, you know what gospel means? Truth. The truth of Jesus Christ. He says, you got to be truthful. If you want to be saved, you got to be truthful and acknowledge that you're unworthy, you're nasty, you're dirty, you're lost, and you can't save yourself. I don't care where you work. I don't care what your last name is. I don't care how long you've been in church. You can't save yourself. After all, it's self that got you in the hellacious position that you're in anyway. Gosh, David spit it out. He says, you desire the truth in the inward parts. You know, when the inward parts most of the time show up when nobody else is around. When everybody else is asleep, late night, the inward man will wake you up. The inward woman will wake you up and say, no, this ain't right. God, you need to talk to somebody. I got to hear it. But you ever tried to run from the truth? Can I just talk to you? My goodness, flowers and candy can't cover the truth. Money and cars and houses cannot cover the truth. Friends, can I get real? Come on. Alcohol and dope. It gets you away from the truth until you